Visuals in this video may include AI-generated or AI-enhanced elements. All content has been edited and compiled with original storytelling intent, ensuring full compliance with YouTube's guidelines and copyright policies. This story isn't just about a struggling farm. It's about how a single voice, brave, honest, and determined, can shake the silence of a forgotten town and echo all the way to the White House. When a young farmer's daughter took a chance and wrote a heartfelt letter to the president, no one expected what would come next.
The blazing summer wind swept through the withering lands of Eden Ridge, a small town in rural Kentucky where dreams had begun to crumble with the dust. 19-year-old Callie Rainer, fiery in spirit and fierce in loyalty, stood on the boundary of her family's parched fields, her eyes fixed on the sun-scorched earth beneath her boots, now cracked and lifeless. Her father, Martin Rainer, had just received another letter from the bank threatening foreclosure. The land that had belonged to the Rainer family for nearly 9 decades was now slipping through their fingers. "This land has been in our blood for 87 years, Daddy," Callie whispered, holding back tears. "We can't just let it vanish like this." Martin, shoulders bent from decades of toil, gave her a weary look. "Sweetheart, we've done everything possible. Government aid dried up. Nobody's listening anymore." But silence didn't sit well with Callie. That night, sitting under the dim glow of the barn's only working bulb, she opened her old laptop. With her heart pounding, she typed a letter not to a local official or a state senator, but directly to President Donald J. Trump. She wrote, "Dear Mr. President, I know you must receive thousands of messages, and I'm just one small town girl, but we're about to lose our family farm. I'm not asking for money, I'm asking to be heard. Please come to Eden Ridge, see what's really happening here. Please don't forget us." She hit send and closed the laptop, not expecting anything to change. What Callie didn't know was that her message wouldn't go unnoticed. Somewhere in Washington, D.C., within the sea of digital correspondence, a White House intern named Lena paused when she read Callie's letter. It wasn't a demand, it was a plea wrapped in honesty and quiet courage. She printed it and slipped it into a folder that made its way to the West Wing. Later that afternoon, President Trump was reviewing documents when the letter landed on his desk. He read it once, then again. "Eden Ridge, Kentucky," he murmured. "Find out what's happening there." What followed was an immediate investigation. Reports from the USDA, aerial images of deteriorating land, and local news snippets confirmed the reality: rural families were being crushed by drought, rising expenses, and vanishing support. But above all stood one clear truth: a teenage girl had spoken up when no one else would. That evening, President Trump stunned his advisors. "We're going to Eden Ridge." Word spread fast in the town. At the local diner, Millie overheard a trucker talking about a presidential visit. The whispers grew louder. "Trump's coming to Eden Ridge. That can't be real." Back at the Rainer farm, Callie was feeding their last calf when her friend Jake raced up, breathless. "Someone from D.C. showed up at City Hall. They say the president's convoy is heading here within the week." Callie blinked. "You're joking." "I'm dead serious. Black SUVs, Secret Service. It's real." Even her father was hesitant. "Don't get your hopes up, Callie. These things don't happen to folks like us." But deep down, she knew something had shifted. 5 days later, Eden Ridge stood still. The rumble of engines echoed down the dirt road. A helicopter circled and landed near the fairgrounds. Secret Service agents moved into position. Then, Donald J. Trump stepped out of an SUV, dressed sharply in a navy suit and iconic red tie. "I want to see the Rainer farm," he said. Callie and her father watched in disbelief as the motorcade turned down their drive. Moments later, President Trump stood in front of them. "You've got a brave daughter," he said to Martin, then turned to Callie. "I read your letter. Now show me everything." She walked him through their land. The brittle soil, dry irrigation lines, and stunted corn crops spoke for themselves. Her voice wavered as she described how local leaders had failed them and how government programs had disappeared without warning. Trump listened intently. "This isn't just your farm, is it?" he asked. Callie shook her head. "No, sir, it's all of us. We just stopped pretending." Back at the house, other farmers gathered to meet the president. They shared their stories: bankruptcy, despair, and loss. There were tears and frustrations laid bare. Trump stood before them. "Washington may have forgotten you, but I didn't come here to talk. I came to fix this." By the next morning, the country was buzzing. News anchors across every major outlet reported, "President Trump visits dying Kentucky farm after teens. Letter goes viral." Callie, standing shyly beside her father, became a symbol of rural resilience. When asked why she reached out, she answered softly, because silence wasn't working anymore. In front of the Rainer barn, President Trump addressed reporters. "These are the people who built this nation, and I won't let them be abandoned." But what came next shocked even the harshest critics. On Air Force One, Trump signed an executive order delivering immediate emergency relief to small farms in crisis zones, starting with Eden Ridge. He also called for a full investigation into mismanagement of rural aid and infrastructure failures. Help isn't charity, he declared. It's justice for those who feed America. Relief poured in. Bank foreclosures were delayed. Supplies arrived, but more importantly, hope returned. Not everyone believed it would last. Some media outlets mocked the move. Politicians called it a PR stunt, but Trump didn't waver. He sent a team to stay in Eden Ridge. One of them, Sarah Hall, a rural development advisor, became a fixture in the town. The local diner returned to full hours. Kids played in the park again. Martin finally slept peacefully. But Callie wasn't done. She wrote again. Mr. President, thank you. But this isn't just about us. It's about every town like ours. A week later, a man arrived with a sealed envelope. Callie, you're right. Let's take this nationwide. I want you in the room with me. 2 weeks later, Callie stood in the White House. Boots dusty, dress simple, eyes wide. When Trump entered, he pointed to her. This is the young woman I told you about. She spoke the truth when no one else would. Together, they unveiled the American Heartland Initiative, a comprehensive plan to rebuild support for small farms and rural towns. Back in Eden Ridge, the impact became visible. Investigators uncovered corruption in the Agricultural Board. Officials resigned. Water projects began. Martin fixed his tractor. Millie hired extra help at the diner. The town's old community center was restored, but the biggest change was emotional. People believed again. Callie's story was shared at schools, newsrooms, and government forums. She was invited to speak at the National Agriculture Summit. Standing beside business leaders and scientists, she felt nervous until Trump approached and said she didn't ask for handouts. She asked for a chance, and she changed everything. He placed a medal on her dress. Applause erupted. Later, a woman from the Department of Agriculture offered her a full-time internship to help design programs for rural communities. But I have a farm. Callie hesitated. We'll work around it. The woman replied, you can change lives from home. Her father hugged her. You don't have to choose. You're strong enough to hold on to both. Callie accepted. She now traveled between Eden Ridge and D.C., sharing stories and shaping policies. She became a voice for thousands. And whenever someone asked how it began, she simply said, I just wrote a letter. And someone listened. Months passed. Trump returned quietly to Eden Ridge. No cameras, no speeches. He visited the Rainers, walked the revived fields, and sipped tea on the porch. Will you keep telling the truth? He asked. Callie nodded. Always. A year later, tragedy struck. Martin Rainer passed away peacefully in his sleep. The funeral filled the town church. A handwritten letter arrived from Trump. Your father reminded us that real strength doesn't need to shout. It grows things, loves quietly, and leaves behind something beautiful. Callie clutched it close. Later, she addressed students at her former school. You don't need a title to have power. Just a truth worth sharing. I was just a farmer's daughter, but maybe that's what made me strong. Inspired by her courage, other towns found their voices. Letters poured in. Policies shifted. Rural families stood tall, not in anger, but in unity. Years later, Callie answered a late-night call. It was Trump. He wasn't in office anymore, but he hadn't forgotten. I just wanted to say, you've made more of a difference than most ever do. Callie smiled, tears slipping down her cheek, and it all started with one letter. In Eden Ridge, children played under new trees, drank clean water, and studied in renovated schools. A small plaque stood in the town square, in honor of Callie Rainer, who reminded us that even the quietest voice can change the course of a nation. And every spring, the fields bloomed once more because one girl believed in the future of the soil. And she was right. Asterisk.
Today, we learned that one person, no matter how young or unheard, can spark a change that reaches far beyond their hometown. All it takes is honesty, courage, and a willingness to stand up when others stay silent. What would you have done if you were in Callie's place? Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, underestimate the power of your voice.